So I guess this is on. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Siddharth, you want to start off your live?
Hello everyone, welcome to our second design thinking live session. Hope everyone is doing well in the self-containment situation in the entire world right now.
Yeah.
I hope everyone is in good health and
Yeah,
so not socializing too much in the current situation, which is very important. And Bala sir, welcome to our live session. As always, it's great to have you live.
okay.
Let's
Eh,
start with our session.
sure. Sorry. Go ahead, Siddharth.
Yeah, sir, you saying something. You were
Yeah,
saying.
I was saying that yes, in the spirit of self-containment and social distancing, even Siddharth and I are on different locations, are on remote locations as well. So we have to set an example. So here we are. Welcome to this live session. I'm very happy to reach out to you over the internet, which is a preferred medium in these times of social distancing. Stay safe, everybody. I think our wish and prayer is that people remain unaffected by this world level, stuff that's happening with the COVID-19 virus. So yes, so I am very happy to take questions, Siddharth. So on to you now.
Great, sir. Moving on to our first question from our learners who are always very enthusiastic and active in our design thinking course. And yes, sir.
The
Um,
design thinking final exam. Um,
Final exam.
yes, and what type of questions will you ask? Will you ask from what you teach? These are some frequently asked questions, not to take the importance away from these questions. These are important questions for you as a student, as a learner. The answer to you is look through all the videos, particularly the lecture ones. Make sure you've understood the concept. So this is something that I've also mentioned in the forums, that you need to make sure that you understand the concepts very well. Okay. The second part of the question, so that would be my preparation, my question. I mean, my suggestion to you for preparation for the exam. In terms of what type of questions, there are two parts to the questions, which is the first part is going to be focused on your assignments from the recall. So those are the recall questions. So what was the third phase? What is the something like that? So this will be basically based on recall kind of questions. So you will get basically based on the assignments that you've already done. I believe you have done five questions, five sets of questions, assignments. So more or less it will be based on those assignments. Now the second part is going to be more on application oriented. So that's why the suggestion of you learning these concepts. Once you learnt the concepts, you will have to apply it in some scenarios, very day-to-day scenarios. Those won't, of course, yes, we will not cover anything that is outside of the syllabus, so-called syllabus that we have. If you focus on the videos, if you have learnt the concept, you will definitely you will definitely get what we have asked you in the questions. So that's my trial to answer this question, Siddharth. Over to you now.
Great, sir. Great. That answers. Great, sir. That answers all of the question, and
Okay.
I'm sure there's nothing coming out of the syllabus. But since design thinking is customer centric, and it is very
Yes.
important that
Yes.
everyone puts enough emphasis on the application side of things, that would definitely help them in writing the exam. So moving on to our next question, sir. How will you calculate assignment marks?
Oh, well, okay. That's it. That's the question. Okay. How will you? Okay.
Yes, sir.
The answer to that is again an FAQ. This is also an FAQ, frequently asked question. But like Siddharth mentioned, this is a design thinking course. This is customer centric, and in my case, you are our customer. So we want to be focused on you. So even if it is asked 5 times, we will answer it 5 times, right, Siddharth? So, so I mean, at least Siddharth does it 5 out of 5 times. Maybe I will miss out 3 out of 5, but Siddharth is very good at this. So anyway, the answer to that question is 3 out of 5 is the answer to that. So three. If correct me if I'm wrong, Siddharth. Three assignments, best 3 assignments will be taken, top 3 marks from those 5 assignments will be taken to your final tally, and that goes as 25% of the 100% that you will score. So 75% still stays with the final exam that you take. So that's the split: 25% to the assignments that you take online, and 75% will be from your final exam. So that's the split.
Great. Right. Nice work.
Yeah.
Got you. So, moving on to our next question. What are the easy software tools that can be used to facilitate the simulation study, and how can I go into that details?
Ooh.
I am not sure if this is very particular towards design thinking, but if you would like to answer this, take it, sir.
Okay. By simulation, I'm guessing you're talking about the graphing software or the prototyping. So I'm going to take both these. So in the analysis, I think multi-y and yeah, that's the only plot that we have in the entire course. Anyway, this is not a mathematics course. So that was drawn using a tool called GNU plot. GNU is the open source software. So that's a very easy to use software if you know where to put what. It's like a code. That's how I use GNU plot. But what you are referring to, if it is prototypes, then there is no particular software that I recommend, but there are plenty out there. I just tell students in my workshop, hey, you have to build an app, or you have to do X, in mechanical design. They usually come up with the answers. I usually do not recommend any software. So we use PowerPoints, we use HTML. That's pretty much the software we use as part of teaching aids. But I've heard people use wireframes, and there are plenty of software. You should be able to go online and find this out for yourself. So it's a wishy-washy answer. Because I don't know the answer really. So so you can really Google and find out what is the best wireframing software, or the best app making software. You will find tons, okay, in the software world. If you are looking at making simple models for expressing your idea, go ahead and use cardboard boxes and wires and clay, Play-Doh, anything you want. Those things this is to represent your idea, to convey it to somebody how to use it. Even paper, A4 size paper, you can, like the origami, you can make it, you can fold it, you can label it. You can pretend, you can do a role play in front of a customer. You can do a whole bunch of things even without all these software. Okay, software is a tool, an aid to help you with the design of the prototype itself. But I'd recommend you go ahead and feel free to see whatever you see fit. In fact, I think Siddharth, you used PowerPoint instead of an app, right? In our workshop, Siddharth used PowerPoint, and he just added those links to make it look as if when you click this happens, when you click that happens. So even if you're clever enough, you can do even that. It's a very simple way to represent your idea.
Right, sir. So I think that answers the question. And since software is an ocean, there are many applications which are available on
Absolutely.
right now.
Oh, totally.
Depending on users' interest and how deep they want to get into building a prototype,
Sure.
they can pick their own software.
Sure.
I think that answers the question.
Yeah.
So moving on to our next question, sir. Does the test phase of design thinking similar to product testing, which is done at product development stage?
Oh yeah, Absolutely. The answer is yes. You answered your question yourself. Yes, it is exactly that. In product testing, usually you have a product to test. So you take it to your customer and you make them test it. Key difference will also, so it is similar in that respect, that in product development, you actually take a product, some kind of version of your product, take it to a customer and you use it. The usual difference is that in design thinking, when people start out, they don't have a product in mind. Okay, so they are still thinking about what kind of ideas to even generate. In that stage, you don't have really a product to test. So you will have to build that product, you will have to build that prototype and then take it to the customer. So that's where it differs from your product testing in a product development, because a product is already there in a product development, whereas here in design thinking, we do not really start with a product in mind usually, but there are differences. People do, like Siddharth himself has taken a product to people and said, here is a product, can you use it? So, and then he makes, so he's empathizing at that stage, and then he takes his insights back home. He analyzes, saying, this is what happened, and why didn't he choose that button? Why did he choose this button? Those are the insights he gets, and he starts analyzing them. Then he says, okay, maybe they find this difficult, I'm going to fix that, I'm going to put a solution. And then he'll go back to the market again to see if what assumptions he has made really is true or not. So that's the testing part again. So that iteration starts coming in. Okay. So, but that time again he goes with the product in there. So that's one of the differences, that you need one key point in product testing is one, you can do it internally with your own team who are well aware of your product. But the other way to do it is to do it with absolute strangers who have no idea how to use your product and start using it. So that way also, and lots of times in the little experience that I have with product testing, we usually kept it within the company. We never hardly went outside to a customer and actually got it tested. So we were testing it within ourselves, independent testing, and with our own teams. We rarely went outside. But it's a good idea to do that, to go outside and actually test it with strangers who have no idea of your product. So that can help also. And by the way, all this applies to a service as well. So people are thinking, switched off, saying, oh, this is only true for a product, it's not good for a service. I don't think so. It's the same philosophy, is exactly the same. You will have to take your service outside somewhere and test it out with a tiny audience, with a smaller subset, and see if all these assumptions work. Okay, so that's one way to do testing in services as well. So yeah, that's my trial to answer, Siddharth.
Right, sir. I think you did well.
Okay, thanks.
That was pretty much the answer we were looking for as well.
Okay.
Moving on to our next question. Okay. Does the workshop in Pune be held at SIBM Pune, located at Lavli?
Oh, you wish. I know. Siddharth is smiling and laughing. I know. We wish it were at SIBM. At some stage we will probably do it also. We'll ask around. That's a good idea. It's a beautiful campus up in SIBM, which is Symbiosis Institute of Business Management at Pune. It's on a hilltop, a lovely, particularly after the monsoons, it's lush green. You can see all the way down and you can see the valley. There are rivers flowing, waterfalls, little waterfalls, birds, and it's amazing. The place is just too good just after the monsoon, particularly. But unfortunately, it's not there. It's going to be at another nice campus, which is IISER, IISER, Indian Institute of Science and Education Research, at Pune also. It is also a lovely campus. You should come and check it out. We did about 90% of our recording at IISER. So all of it was indoors, of course. We did it inside a studio. But whatever little you saw outside where Siddharth went and interviewed a few students and all that was all at IISER campus. So it's a nice campus. It will be quiet, I think, just before the semester starts. you can explore the campus when you get there at ISER Pune. I welcome you all. I'd like to see all of you there. I mean, many of you there.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to our next question.
Yeah.
Course on design thinking is very effective.
Okay.
But how can I make my career in this? What lies ahead? What should I do to become design thinking expert beside practicing? Like course, for which course should I go? What is the scope in India?
Wow, that's a lot of questions enrolled into one. But thank you for that question. It's very detailed. I think that what we have, of course, is an introductory course, and you're right. You could make use of it in your career. But making it your own career, I think we addressed this last time around also. Yes, last time also we addressed this question. Somebody asked us, so what kind of a job should I be looking for in design thinking? I'm not so sure if there are design thinking specific jobs unless you're taking design thinking consulting in a company where you can help somebody implement design thinking itself as a trainer, as a practitioner within a company. So those things exist within companies, but it's a very specialized role. It will require some amount of finding out if a company does that, or as an external consultant. Lots of people do that as well. As a design thinking consultant, you go and actually help your customers or clients implement design thinking in various organizations, service organizations or product organizations. You could do that as well. Of course, you're looking at two people who have taken this up as a career. We do use design thinking in for teaching, for reaching out to people. We apply it in our own practices in product development in Siddharth's company. We actually use design thinking. You saw it also recorded in the workshops. So those are some let's say a spectrum of things you could do with design thinking in terms of a career. Now, what else can I do besides practicing? Well, practicing it is key. I think it requires a lot of time and effort to get better at this. I think you've just brushed it aside saying beside practicing. We're still doing the practicing. Siddharth and I do workshops for others and also for ourselves. We do practice design thinking. We do these stages. We learn more about it from various projects, and that's definitely something that you should keep practicing also. Be it empathize, be it 5 whys, be it conflict of interest, or the TRIZ tools that you have been introduced to, and some prototyping as well. You could make little things. So your friends, your family, your somebody that you know, I do it with our colleagues and friends, and that's when our learning also became better. Okay, what is the scope in India? India, I think we are at a stage where you don't now have to explain what design thinking is. Lots of people have heard of it, have started a massive open online course on NPTEL, and the number of people that are taking it and are getting in the interviews. If you have some of my students have come back and told me that when they have design thinking on their resume, one of the interview questions is, hey, you mentioned design thinking in your resume, what did you do? So those things seem to be that companies do ask for. Lots of companies are training their employees also on design thinking. Some of the premier firms that you know of, you have heard of, they all are looking at, not all, but many of them are looking at it very seriously and are putting people and resources behind design thinking itself. So this is what I know and what I've heard from my colleagues, my friends, and I'm sharing it with you guys. So Siddharth, if you have anything to add, please go ahead and add that to that also.
I think you covered everything what has to be said, sir. And very importantly, this is a practice and a way of living for me, it has become a mindset. So any problem we see, we look at it through a design thinking perspective nowadays, and thanks to you for that.
Oh, okay, okay,
So,
Siddharth.
so I'm. That was that. You did answer it completely.
Okay,
I have nothing to say more to it.
okay.
Moving on to our next question, sir. When we are in empathize and analyzing and solving it with advanced technology. So if the technology is in solve phase, what we are using is new, and it affects negatively in some aspects, but the customers would get entirely new experience, mostly positive. Should we make the new change? And if the changes are implemented, then it affects the initial empathize phase which we develop. Is it required to implement those changes, as this condition may happen in today's tech revolution? I'm assuming again it is very specific towards how the customers would perceive the entire empathize phase and etc., and what kind of experiences they might receive from the customer side. So if you have anything to share on this. So,
Sure. My interpretation of this question is that what the person is saying, that in empathize and analyze, we looked at it entirely from the customer perspective. We are not really bringing in the solution. So technology really is not something that gets in here in these two stages at least. That's what person seems to be saying.
right.
But where I would like to sort of add to that is in the analyze, in the conflict of interest. There is a phase where you look at it from the other side, the technology side as well. So that is the transition bit from the customer to the technology or the solution itself. So or the provider, the manufacturer or the service provider. Okay. So there you could introduce saying that there is a conflict between what the user wants to do and what the technology can provide. Okay, and that makes it very interesting. Okay, so you can actually look at it from that as a conflict, from a conflict perspective is very interesting. And if you can solve it, saying this is what actually technology can provide, but this is what the customer is seeking. Now I want to solve that. Okay, so that's one part of where technology can actually come into the second stage itself, not necessarily have to start at the solve stage. Okay, now in solve, I think that you want to immediately go on with technology and make it all great for the customer and do that, which is good, great. But remember that every time you introduce something in for a customer, you're also introducing few more problems for the customer again. So you will have to go circle around, go back to the empathize phase to figure out what is it that the technology has now introduced. No, technology doesn't make life all rosy and really good, and this is utopia after then on. No, not necessarily. Every solution will introduce new problems for the customer. Okay, every solution, no matter how clever, how high tech, how low tech your solution is, how simple your solution is, you are introducing a new problem for the customer. Okay, by way of the solution. So that's one of the tenets coming from TRIZ. It's not my own thought. It comes from the TRIZ world, where we never consider that a solution is perfect. It is done. There's always work to be done. There's always improvement that can be done. There's always something else that can replace this current technology. We think there's no end to this technology, but there's always a new one. It can always be replaced. Why? Because the problem is never solved. Okay, so there is no ideal solution. So that's the premise coming from TRIZ. Altshuler proposed this. Okay, so with that in mind, your job in the person's question says, now I'm circling back to empathize. After I'm done with prototyping it, I'm actually going to go to test it with the customers. Now I'm in empathize. Now I will be, of course, the customer will say, oh wow, it solves my problem. Okay, and they will all be positive. But your job is not that. Your job is to figure out how does it make his life or her life a bit more trickier. Now they have to install that, now they have to click that, now they have to learn to do that. It takes this much time, it takes that much resources. So your job is to figure out what is the downstream complication you have introduced because of this new solution. Okay, so if you don't do it, someone else will. So any new technology, that's the story, right? So as in design thinking, if you are focused on human centric design, we will go back to the human and figure it out for ourselves, saying this is what they were not able to do, and let me figure it out, and again analyze it and then solve it, improve the prototype, get it back to them. So that makes it iterative. That's the iteration part of it. Okay, so I believe I've answered all the parts of the question. If there is anything remaining, please let me know, Siddharth.
Yes, sir. I think you did answer all the parts of the question.
Okay.
And in short, what you were trying to say was change is anyway inevitable, and we as design thinkers need to adapt to it and try to bring it to our customers in the right way, which is useful to them, but also trickier, like you said. How do they kind of give them more insights on what they're developing?
Sure.
I think that does answer the question from all aspects.
Okay. Yeah.
Going to our next question, sir. Which course would you recommend I continue with from here?
Oh yeah, this is not the first time we've had this question either. So I believe that we have a beginner course and we have advertised it so. More of the same is what we would recommend. I don't think there is an advanced level anything in this course. The iteration, the more you do, the mastery is what we can recommend. So there is no advanced level ninja, black belt that we have in design thinking, or level 1, 2, 3, 4 like in a game or anything. We don't have any of that in design, at least in our course. Maybe out there is, but the more experience you have in empathize doesn't come naturally to you, or the analysis doesn't come naturally to you. So like with any other skill, I would recommend you to do it further many times, take up many projects in various disciplines, and try to see how to get better at this. And keeping something in particular in mind, one of the aspects of it or two aspects of it, see if you can, if you're able to prototype well, see if you're able to team up with different perspective people, not only with, say if you're a technology guy, try to see if you're able to team up with somebody in economics or somebody in literature. Try to see if you can team up with them and see if you can get unrelated ideas, correlated ideas, how to make or different type of customers. So you always go with, say, a young group in the 14 to 16 segment. Try to target somebody who's in the 25 to 30 segment, or a 65 to 70 segment, whatever. So try variations of this. So, or if you've been product focused, try to switch to service. So that's the way to get mastery at design thinking itself, to try it out with various things. I can't recommend a course. I don't know of any courses, so let me be honest. But this is all we had to say in our course, and this is all there is to the method anyway. So if you want, you could try all the variations that I just suggested and attain mastery, and so that design thinking, like Siddharth rightly mentioned, it becomes part of your mindset, the way you think, rather than some other process that you're trying to put it, because that's how designers actually do it. This whole toolkit came from the designer world. That's why it's called design thinking, right? So that's how designers think, and we brought it outside. Not we, IDEO and Stanford and all those guys actually brought it out from them. They were all designers. They said, how do we make it accessible to everybody? Okay, so that's the process orientation, and it becomes part of you, part of your psyche itself, if you do it many times over. So there is no advanced for this, as far as I know. Okay, I may be wrong. Keep doing it, attain mastery like any other skill, and let us know if you find something advanced that you think, hey, it should have this or that. We are happy to make it a black ninja. What is that? A black belt or a, level 2, level 3. You tell us, give us ideas. We will try to make it that way.
Great, sir. Great. That does answer the question very nicely. Just practicing design thinking then every day and applying it to as many problems as possible
Sure.
with as many customer segments as possible, like you rightly said.
Sure.
Different age groups, different geographies for the same problem, or different problems for same group. I think that does serve the purpose of moving forward in terms of design thinking after this course.
Absolutely.
Moving on to, yep. So moving on to our next question, sir.
Yeah.
In the problem of student being distracted,
Okay.
why were you talking only one factor? That is the teacher going fast. That is why student retention is low. Why aren't we taking into note that other factors for distracted students like poor health of child, inconvenience in sitting arrangement, low interest in subject being taught, etc.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, yeah, this is again another frequently asked question. I think I answered this one on the forum also. Somebody did ask me, how come a different variant of this question is, in 5 whys, why do you even consider one answer? There could be many answers. World is not simple that you ask one question and you get one answer. I absolutely agree with you.
Correct.
And your empathy with the kid actually has gone up. So I can see that. So you're doing that phase very well. That you're not only seeing it saying this guy is distracted because the teacher is going fast, but maybe he's not healthy. Hey, maybe his whatever else other factors are there. Absolutely agree with you. There could be many factors. I have just taken one. Now, why did I take just one? Simple answer to tell you how the 5 whys actually works. Okay, so you can take one why, answer it, go to the next why, answer it, go to the next why, answer it, and keep going it. So you will see a linear chain of whys, and that's what we want to do. Root cause analysis is actually a linear question answer arrangement. Okay, having said that, it can be a forked branched also. I think Siddharth, in your 5 whys that you did for the workshop, I think there was one such forked reasoning also, if I'm not wrong. Just check out the videos. I think Siddharth did do a fork for one of the question line of reasoning. And you could do that. So you can say, oh, the student is cramped, is not able to sit properly, so the only way he could sit was by the side, and that's why he was not able to pay attention. Fine. So why is the classroom so cramped? So that could be a line of reasoning. Okay, well, the classroom size itself is small. Why is the classroom size so small? Because there's only little space for the school to be built. And they had planned for 20, but they got 40 students, and hence the student had to be cramped. Okay, so now you're getting a line of reasoning on the fact that the student was sitting by the side like that and not able to pay attention. Totally cool. So you can get as many reasons as you want. This way you're able to see it from the student's perspective. You're able to empathize better. So there's a strong link between empathize and analysis, which is what I was trying to convey through those 5 whys also. So multi-whys. So you can see a clear link. You're able to understand. You're getting into the psyche of the customer. You're going deeper and deeper. And even sometimes the students may not be able to tell you this, or the customers may not be able to tell you all this reasoning. It is for us, the design thinkers, to figure this out. So more the merrier factors, but remember to always keep going deeper and deeper. If you've taken one reason, just don't stop at that level, but keep digging deeper to understand what is the root cause behind all this, which is what I was trying to illustrate using one of that reasoning. Okay, so that's my answer to this question, Siddharth.
Right, sir. Very nice to put up. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Moving on to our next question, sir. Before that, I see a technical issue on our live session.
Okay.
Our video seems to be stuck. Our audio is going well, okay, but our video seems to be stuck.
Oh, what do I have to do? but the timer is on.
Okay, the preview is perfectly going on your screen, sir. The OBS preview.
Oh, the OBS. Let me just check. Yeah, it seems to be all right. Let me do something. 1 second. No, yeah, you're right. It's stuck also. Now it got released somehow. Yes.
Okay.
Magically,
Might have timed out.
it got better.
Okay, that's good news. Yes, I can see the.
You can see it moving. Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Apologies for two people if there was some break in audio or video. The reason is I usually Siddharth does this on the and he is very smooth with this software. This the first time that I'm using this software. I have very little experience with this, so pardon me for that.
I think it's all cool right now, sir. So moving on to our next question.
Okay.
Yep. Please demonstrate some hardcore project development in terms of design thinking.
Oh, I don't understand. Okay, let's wait a second. Let me do
What I
something.
understand is how
Yeah.
do they build a project in terms of solving a problem using design thinking.
Okay, so I think that each problem statement that you take, for example, a customer segment that you take and an action for them that you take, can be taken as a project. It is a project in one sense that it is not a simple answer this question and you're done. Okay, it is going to be a sequence of steps that you have to follow, and finally you get a result out of it, and still there is room for improvement. So that way it's an ongoing project also. Specifically, if you talk about, if in the context of a company, if you're talking about a project, I would think a project typically in a company would be something which requires a lot of people, resources, planning, budgeting, all that. Yes, there is scope for all that also in design thinking. Is you start with a customer segment, you say that these are the expected results, this is our timeline, this is our budget. We don't specifically have a step in design thinking for all that. I usually it goes out to people who are in project management who can handle all that. We have not included that as a step in design thinking. So that comes before and after the design thinking project itself. It operates independent of the project. So once you think of a need of a project for design thinking, you can float a proposal within your company or to an organization, get the funding, ask for the people. You can do all that. Once that is done, then you start the design thinking, the process itself. Then it can be taken as a project. Okay. Now, in case you are looking for more specifics, saying what kind of target, so you can start. One idea occurred to me is that you can start with the empathize phase, get some insights, frame your how might we question, and that can be your deliverable for a project also. So you could take the how might we questions that you have framed and go back to your project management team, or if somebody of you or you yourself are handling the project, then you could say that this is the project goal that I have, the how might we question, and I'm going to make a difference for this customer segment that I've been talking to. So post empathize phase also, this can be launched as a project with a clear deliverable in mind, that this is the how might we question that I want to answer, I want to solve, I want to resolve during the course of this project. So many ways to do this. So I guess this answers the question that we do not specifically have a project management step in design thinking process itself. This can be taken as a project from the how might we itself. If you want to propose this as a project to a team or a funding organization or your college, you can do the empathize one round, do some 3 or 4 field studies, then go and talk to your management saying, hey, I talked to these many people, they have this problem, and I think this is worth solving for you as the funding organization, as the sponsoring organization, as well as for my time, because I am passionate in solving this problem. And then you can start, once they are okay with that, they give you the resources, you can start the project and then go through the steps multiple times, make the iterations, and then that can come out as a project, the product or the service at the end, and the satisfied customers, people who you helped, can give you the testimonial to go. You can take them and go back to your to your funding organization, your stakeholders, and say that, hey, this is what I did for these customers, this is what they have to say, and this is how I helped them, and this is the process I used. So you can sum it up into a nice report and submit it back as a design thinking. This is a typical project management exercise. I don't think it's very specific to design thinking itself. This can be applied all across. But the empathy angle probably helps you in convincing that your management that this is a project worth pursuing. Yes, Siddharth.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Unfortunately, I see that the screen is stuck again.
Oh my God. Okay.
Only the audio is coming out is what our viewers are saying in the live chat.
Okay, audio is coming through, is it? Okay.
Yes.
Let me check the software again. Everything seems to be all right. I don't know what the problem is. I really don't know. It says live. It says recording. Well, yeah, it's.
Anyway, let's finish. Let's move on with the session because.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
There's much we can help right now.
Sorry. I don't know what the problem is. Why it's not moving. Okay.
Yep. Moving on to our next question, sir.
Yeah.
What does thinking outside the box mean, and how do we do it?
Okay. Hey, just hang on. It says please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or lesser, and I have no idea where to change all that.
Yes, sir. I think it's in the settings, video, and inside settings. If we can go to the video output.
You mean the recording software or in the YouTube?
On the recording software.
On the recording software. Okay. Hang on, people. Since you have complained about this, you will have to wait for some time. I will have to just check. I am entering territories that I have no clue about, but let me see. That's all prototyping, so it's all in that phase. Okay.
Not true, people. Bala sir is a gem of a coder.
Thanks, Siddharth. No, man, I can't seem to change anything here. Output.
On the setting, once you go into the settings, which is there on the right bottom of your software.
Yeah. What am I supposed to?
You can see video output.
Oh, it's all grayed out. I think you have to pause the recording and do it. I don't think you can do it. Yeah, just like that. Okay. So yeah, so as long as they're able to hear me, I guess that should be. I'm guessing it's okay for them. Sorry, people. That's not working out as well as it should.
Anyway, we still have less than 15 minutes, so I think it should be okay for our viewers, and I'm sure they will excuse us in this distance socializing session.
Sure. Yeah. I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
So, yes, sir, that was the question. What does mean by thinking outside the box, and how do we do it?
Okay, so interesting question. Let me do this. Wait. Anyway, the video is frozen. I'm just going to switch this. Okay, so outside the box. So how did that term even come into into being? Is there's this puzzle, 9 dots puzzle. I don't know if you've heard of this, Siddharth. 9 dots puzzle. which is basically it's in the form of a 3 by 3 dots, 3 by 3 dots. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's like a square, 3 dots on one side and 3 dots on the other. The challenge is you have to draw 3 lines, straight lines, okay, not curved lines, straight lines, such that it should not leave out any dot. Okay, so that's the puzzle. If you want to mute my video and whatever audio and want to know, you want to do it yourself, go ahead and do that. But if you heard of this puzzle, I believe that's the origin of this expression, think outside the box, because this puzzle cannot be solved if you only are focused inside that box of 3 by 3 matrix, okay, 3 by 3 dots. In order to get those 3 lines within and such that all the dots are covered, you have to go outside the box, and that's when you can actually solve it. Okay, so the rationale in that, or the message of that little puzzle, is that oftentimes if you are thinking, let's say I have a bottle right here with me, if you want to improve the bottle, normally all the solutions that you can think of is within the box of the bottle itself. Any idea that you can think of, you're thinking of how to make this bottle better, you probably would not think of frozen, so how do I transport liquid? Through bottles. Okay, so you will all think about bottles, but probably you will not think about a frozen solution. That's outside this box. This doesn't even talk about frozen stuff. Okay, so thinking outside the box involves shedding all your assumptions about a certain product or a service. I can keep this out, and thinking about something completely different, drastically different, and still solving the problem. Okay, we still not left out the problem. Okay, now the advantage of that is it gives a wow factor. Okay, that the solution is something that you have not thought of, the customers haven't even imagined this, it is revolutionary, all that. So for example, I think one of the famous quotes of Henry Ford is that if I had asked my customers what they want, they would have said faster horses. It's usually attributed to Henry Ford. Okay, they would never have said cars. Okay, he and so many other people before him thought that, okay, how do I transport people from one location to the other? They thought about motorized vehicles. Okay, and that led to the invention of the car and the improvement of the car. Okay, so he thought outside the box. Okay, that's great, revolutionary product, nobody has thought about it, great. Now the peril with that, or the risk with out of the box solutions, is that there is no infrastructure to support the making of this out of the box product. There is no product, there is no let's say ecosystem to support this. No, you won't even find people with the correct knowledge to make this new product line. It's completely revolutionary, so revolutionary that nobody even knows how to make it. Okay, so which means that it needs a lot of resources. So this is the next level of evolution in terms of a product development. Product evolution happens is that what people refer to as the next S curve, S-shaped growth curve. So which means it replaces the current product and starts a completely new line. Okay, there are so many examples for that. So we started with magnetic tapes, then it moved to CDs, then to MP3s, MP3 CDs, and now we have streaming service. Okay, so each step it kept evolving, but during the phase where, so each one is revolutionary, but within the development of each of these phases, you actually saw a linear development of addition of features and kept improving, it kept getting better. Okay, that's within the box. So anything you want to improve within the box is also good. So there's nothing, it depends on what the stage of evolution of the particular product is. Okay, so you can be within the box and be doing very, very well. Okay, and if you have the resources, you can think of some product which is outside this box, which is what they say when they say think outside the box. So you can't just think outside the box because it's so difficult to do that, one. And if you did do that, how are you going to materialize all this? How are you going to get people to make this? How are you going to get people who know how to make it? Okay, so those are all the risks that you run into in outside the box thinking. In fact, one of my friends used to joke that I don't know if he read it somewhere. If you think outside the box, you are thinking a box for somebody else to think within. So that's the risk of thinking outside the box. Okay, that's a long-winded answer for a simple question, I think.
But that is a very interesting perspective and piece of knowledge for us, sir.
Oh, okay, thanks with that. I expected nothing lesser from you.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
tell me.
moving to the last question from our query form.
Okay.
What are the job profiles for which design thinking will help in manufacturing sector?
Hmm.
Please explain a little bit more about how we have to submit ideas for a workshop. These are two different questions, but from the same person.
Okay. So the first question I'll take. I think it's similar to. No. It's not similar to the previous question. This question in the manufacturing sector. I think people have this problem that, and I've been asked this question several times. Is I'm in a large company. Okay, the company is so big that the end customer is like 5 or 6 steps away from me. So when you say customer journey mapping and empathy with the customer and all that, I'm only able to imagine that, but I'm not able to do it for you. So what do we really do in these cases? The answer to that is your output, what you do as a service, as a product change, actually benefits somebody else, and that person is your customer. Okay, treat them as your customer. What are they going through? How are they dealing with your output? And that could be a great empathy exercise. So if you are in HR inside a company, your customer is the person, an employee who is benefiting out of your services. Say if you are you're a shop floor person who is in, say, an assembly line in manufacturing. Okay, so your output actually goes into somebody else. Now how can I make this better? What are they looking at? You can go to their perspective and see all this from that side as well. So that way your empathy muscles build, and then you can start looking at it from that perspective. And you can even look at customer, so which is who is the next guy in line after the person whom you have given the output to. Okay, what are they going through in software? If you're a developer, testing guys are the next in line. Okay, so what are they going through? How can we help their life? How can we make it better for them? So that could be an empathy exercise. So think of who is down there in the next step and whom you are helping with your output, and that will probably help you with looking at empathy, analyze, solve, and test, and you will start seeing a change in yourself, the way you operate in a company also. So it's a generic answer, but I think that